One of the biggest challenges that I see that speakers have is connecting emotionally with an audience. This is a word that I hear all the time. I use it myself. Hey, connect with your audience. One of the big questions is, how do you do that, Mike? One of the best tools that I've ever found is to use one of the 6 common emotions when you share your story. I can't think of a story that I've heard in now nearly 52 years of life on this planet that I haven't gotten some type of emotional connection with any of the stories I've heard. Now, the 6 most common emotions, and I picked this up from fellow speaker David Brooks. The 6 common emotions are happiness, anger, sadness, surprise, disgust, and fear. Happiness, anger, sadness, surprise, disgust, and fear. If you go back and watch any movie, read a book, look at a favorite children's fable, they all have at least one of those in them. And that's where you create that emotional connection with your audience. One of my favorites is surprise. This is a common element in all comedy. A great joke comes from an unexpected twist or turn. That's where most humor is born, actually. So as you're putting your presentation together, go through and maybe use a set of markers, different colored markers, to help highlight the different emotional connection points you have. And a great story does not have to be long to include several of these emotional connections. One of the best stories I've heard in the last year or two comes from one of my fellow speakers named Kara Soletto. Kara goes into corporations and teaches them how to integrate the millennials with baby boomers. It's a big challenge today because there's a big generational difference, a whole different thought process, and that's her job, is to blend the two to make sure they're getting the most out of the workforce. And to help people understand the thought process of the millennial, Kara tells a great 30-second story. This is it. She says, a lot of people talk to me as a millennial and say, your generation has no sense of loyalty. She said, well, that could be true, but let me help you understand why. You see, my parents divorced when I was young, as did many of my friends' parents. And my mother worked for and was very unceremoniously fired by 3 big corporations. And each time she had to cry, it was my shoulder that she cried on. Loyalty? We don't know the meaning of the word. Now, Kara tells that better, but it's a powerful story because it gives insight into the thought process of a whole generation. What emotions are in there? Well, there's sadness because they've seen a lot of upheaval in their lives. There's fear. They've grown up with a fear of uncertainty in their own homes and in the corporate world and watching their parents lose their jobs. There might be even a little bit of disgust with the fact that people really can't depend on a guaranteed job anymore. So there are all kinds of emotions in a very quick vignette. So as you put your stories together, ask yourself, how can I incorporate these emotions and make that emotional connection with others? Incorporate the 6 common emotions and you'll find that the impact of your stories and your presentations go just a little bit higher. Until next time, always remember, you've got a story and a message that someone needs to hear. Tell that story well, and you'll impact more lives than you can ever imagine.